welcome. You're watching News 9 Live with me, Neha Khanna, and joining me today is a special guest. We have with us senior Congress leader and Member of Parliament, the one and only Dr. Shashi Tharoor. Dr. Tharoor, what a pleasure talking to you. It's been a very hectic time for you.
Thank you, Neha. Yes, just got back in from, what is it, a 47, 48-day campaign in Thiruvananthapuram. But it's over now, and now the time has come to look at the other states, the 5 phases that remain. So I'll be heading out on the campaign trail again shortly.
Yes, we have to talk about Kerala and then we have to talk about the big national picture. But let's start with your constituency. Kerala has voted. It's been an intense campaign. There is no doubt you're a very popular leader, a 3-time member of Parliament. But this time you were pitted against Union Minister Rajeev Chandrashekhar and things got rather acrimonious on the ground. So the question that I have to ask you is, was this a tougher election for you compared to the last 3?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think the toughest was 2014, when there was a Modi wave for the first time, when there was at the same time a very popular, very elderly figure representing the BJP who was very popular in the constituency. In fact, later went on to become the only BJP MLA ever from Kerala for 1 term. And at the same time, there was a lot of malice going around. I was subject to a lot of completely unfounded but really nasty campaigning about the passing away of my late wife. So that was really the toughest one, and indeed the narrowest margin. Both my first and my third victories in 2009 and 2019 were by a comfortable 1 lakh majority, even though it's always a 3-cornered fight, because we also have the communists from whom I had taken the seat in the first place. So it was their seat twice before I took it from them. So in those circumstances, a lakh is a pretty good majority to have. Now, I don't know if we're going to hit that margin again, but I think it's going to be a fairly comfortable victory this time, closer in experience to 2019 than to 2014.
Fair enough. Of course, we'll know the results on the 4th of June. But, you know, let's talk about one issue that came up during the Kerala election. Do you believe that, you know, the controversial film, The Kerala Story, that talks about so-called love jihad, had any kind of an impact on this election, considering that some churches too were screening it this time around? It is a polarizing issue, you would agree, but do you think it's had any impact?
It was a polarizing issue. The purpose of the film was really to paint a completely inaccurate and exaggerated picture of the realities in Kerala. And the completely false argument that 3,200 women, or was it 32,000, some preposterous figure of Kerala women had gone off to ISIS is laughable. I mean, not even 100 Indian citizens of all genders, religions, regions have gone to ISIS. So the whole thing was a completely fraudulent film. And it was done, I'm sorry to say, with an agenda, and a rather malicious agenda to promote communal division in the country.
But some churches screening the movie?
So a couple of churches screened it because there have been a couple of episodes, literally involving 2 or 3 women from the Christian community who got converted after marrying Muslims, and who indeed go off, and I think one of them ended up in Afghanistan after their foray into that kind of world. So there were a couple of churches that were, but you know, the fact is most of the churches do not agree with this film or with its screening. And so it was just a couple of churches that did. And I would argue that Kerala as a whole is actually in many ways a model of intercommunal harmony. Kerala is a place where you're constantly coming across remarkable human interest stories. Literally, there isn't a month that goes by without something that would astonish people in India. A Hindu family that adopts their domestic servant's boy when the lady dies. And this boy is brought up as a Muslim in a Hindu household. And his marriage is arranged to a Muslim, and he is treated as somebody who is their son, and they treat him as their son, but he's a son of a different religion. There's been cases where Muslim mosques have hosted Hindu weddings, which is extremely unusual. Can't imagine it in some places elsewhere in India. There have been cases where love relationships, not love jihad, but where deeply intense and affectionate relationships between or across these 2 religious divides have been the subject of extremely successful and popular films. And they've been based on true stories. They've been remarkable stories of intercommunal harmony. And literally, if you were to Google a few, there'd be no end to them. And the thing is, that's the real Kerala experience. It's constantly people reaching across the communal divide. In fact, I would go so far as to say there isn't really a communal divide in Kerala, because for thousands of years, all the three religions have coexisted side by side, and as a result, they've got used to sharing each other's space. A very simple example, a banal example, if you like, is that whereas in the rest of India, let's face it, pretty much all the movie characters take Hindu names. And sometimes there was an era when even Muslim actors like Dilip Kumar took a Hindu name in order to be more acceptable to the broader public. In Kerala, you have not just actors keeping their names, but characters from so-called minority communities featuring as leads in films, including in the title of the film and so on. And nobody has, in fact, I would argue no member of a so-called minority has a minority complex in Kerala. They feel they're just the same as everyone else. And that's what's special about Kerala. It is so different from, unfortunately, what I see around me in northern India, that I want the rest of India to be more like us. I don't want us to be infected by this northern virus that the Kerala story and so on is trying to do.
So for you, it's a symbol of syncretism. And of course, you know, Christians and Muslims together actually constitute 46% of the population.
47, some say, and of course we haven't had a census since 2011. The numbers may even have gone up. But let's say 53 and 47 seems to be the broad consensus by the demographers.
All right. Let's now talk about your principal opponent in this election, the BJP. The BJP is hoping to make inroads in southern India this time. The slogan, as we know, is Abki Baar, 400 Paar.
That's a fantasy, and you know
it's a fantasy. But in 2019, they did pick up 25 out of 28 Lok Sabha seats in Karnataka. Do you believe the BJP is in a position to improve its tally in the south and open its account in your state?
No, as I joked, the only account they'll open in my state is a bank account. I'm sure they've got more than one there, but they won't certainly be able to win a seat. That's pretty clear, because communalism has a very limited appeal in Kerala. The BJP went from being a 2-3% party across the state to a 12-13% party across the state. Now, there are a handful of constituencies where, for demographic and other reasons, they have a greater appeal. And Thiruvananthapuram happens to be their strongest constituency. Thiruvananthapuram is 68% Hindu, it's just 10% Muslim, about 22% Christian. So you're looking at...
But with you in the fray, they don't have a chance, is what you're saying.
Well, there is that too. But I'm just saying that the very few constituencies where the demography gives the minorities so little say that the BJP could actually make a bigger impact. And now, the truth is, they've come second twice. In both 14 and 19, they were second. And therefore, one has to take them very seriously. And as you pointed out, there was a minister contesting, and part of his message was, look, we're going to win anyway. If you win, you get a minister. If the other guy wins, he's going to be sitting in the opposition, which can be more use to you. And that kind of thing does appeal sometimes to the city elites and so on. Except that they're not going to win. I mean, it's looking increasingly clear after the first couple of phases that the BJP is not coming back to power. And that is an important
realization. That is a very bold statement to make, Dr. Tharoor. We'll come to that.
But we haven't finished on the south yet, and we'll come to the north in a minute. In the south, it's very, very clear that the BJP will not be able to maintain the numbers they had last time. I'm very confident that in Karnataka, well, look at the polls that have come out. During my campaign, I was focused mainly on Kerala, but I saw a couple of polls, one of which had Congress winning 10 seats, and one of which had, I beg your pardon, winning 17 seats, I beg your pardon, and one of them which had Congress winning 12 seats. So even if you take the lower number, last time we won 1 seat in Karnataka. So the fact is,
this time you have a government in Karnataka.
And we have a government which has proven its popularity and implemented a number of measures that have been well universally hailed by the public. So I would say the BJP is simply not going to be able to maintain the numbers it had last time. Telangana, we've already gone up in all the polls to 10-12 seats. We only had 2 last time. Andhra Pradesh, neither us nor the BJP is in a very strong wicket, but certainly they're not going to do particularly well as far as what you can see. It's going to be a contest principally between 2 strong regional parties. Tamil Nadu and Kerala, they're both 0. Of that, there is no doubt. So when you look at the 5 southern states, the only one where they did very well last time was Karnataka, and they did not, I think, got a handful of seats in Telangana. they're not going to be able to reach that level this time. And if they go down in those places, then they're not going up anywhere else. So the South is going to be a net negative for them.
Okay.
Now take the North. The problem for the BJP is they did too well in 2019. In 6 states, they won every seat.
Yes.
In 3 states, they won all but 1 seat.
Yeah.
In 2 states, they won all but 2 seats.
UP was a near clean sweep.
UP, I think they won 65, if I'm not mistaken, out of 80. And in fact, if you ask the BJP where are your seats going to go up from last time, they can't point to any of these states because all these states have already maxed out. So then they point to UP.
They claim it'll come from Northeast. They claim it'll come from Bengal. They claim it'll come from the South.
How many seats? Bengal, they had a record performance. They had 18 seats. They're not going to do any better. In fact, TMC is openly saying they're going to do much worse than 18. Northeast, there are not that many states and seats involved.
Yeah.
So you get a handful there. But don't forget the BJP, in its record performance of 2019, just got 32 seats above the majority mark.
Yeah.
So if they lose 32 seats, they no longer have a majority. They are already on course for losing more than 50, 60 seats so far.
Okay.
And in the weeks to come, in the phases to come, it may get worse. So the BJP is in very deep trouble. I think that panic has set in.
Okay.
You're seeing this in the arrest of a sitting chief minister who's the head of a national opposition party. You've seen this in the raid on Rahul Gandhi's helicopter, the freezing of the Congress bank accounts, and you've seen it now in the extraordinarily inflammatory rhetoric that the Prime Minister has been using, which really is a sign of desperation and truly shocking that one would expect a Prime Minister to have different standards than has been revealed in that speech in Banswara, which he doubled down upon a couple of days later.
Yes. I want to talk about that in greater detail, Dr. Tharoor, but one more question about the South before we move on to the national picture. Some would say that this is being positioned almost as a North versus South election. If that is indeed the case, do you not believe that the disadvantage actually is for the Congress and the India alliance, considering that obviously the North has many more seats?
Yeah, so that's why we're not pitching it as a North versus South election. I don't know who wants to do that. For us, you know, the South has a strong stake in the North and the North has a strong stake in the South, and we're all one country. So I wouldn't say North versus South. There are issues linked to the faulty implementation of federalism under the BJP government, which have raised some genuine concerns about things like tax distribution, revenue distribution with the states, because the BJP has stumbled upon this rather clever device, which is nasty from the state's point of view, of levying more and more taxes in the guise of cesses.
Yeah.
And cesses are not part of the divisible pool, they're not shared with the states. So if the center is collecting a lot of cesses, the states are getting nothing.
Yeah.
But the states are contributing to all these cesses as well as their normal taxes. So the southern states have had a strong feeling that they've been given a raw deal because they're already contributing far more to the tax kitty than they get back. And on top of that, the central government is taking cess. They're saying, where's the fair shake for us? Now, that's a different issue.
And
there's
if you
another
add
big
population
issue
to the mix,
it
gets so much worse for
and
the
that's
South.
coming next, because in 2026, the 91st Amendment to the Constitution, which was passed in Vajpayee Saab's time, that renewed the Indira Gandhi rule that the Lok Sabha seats would be frozen at the level of the 1971 census, that lapses. And the BJP at all levels has made it clear they're not going to renew it. They want to redistribute the seats in such a way that the Hindi belt gets a 2/3 majority.
So, you know, Rahul Gandhi also made a controversial statement of a similar kind a few months ago.
It's true, because the BJP hasn't hidden this in any conversations you have. They've said we're definitely going to do a new delimitation and there'll be a new census as well. In fact, some have suggested that the delayed census will actually not wait till 31, because you know there was no census in 21 because of COVID. They're going to do it very soon, maybe already this year or next year, after the elections, if they come to power. Well, as I said, I don't think they're coming to power, so that's all right. But the fact still is that the plan appears to be, you have a census, do a new delimitation well before the 29 elections. And under that delimitation, there is then a serious issue for the South. That's when you can start seriously talking about North versus South issues. Because you can't create a situation in which a very productive, educated, highly industrialized and effective part of the country like the South.
And one that seems to be keeping population in check.
And because they've kept their population in check, they shouldn't be politically disempowered and disenfranchised.
Yes.
So that becomes a serious issue, because if that happens, then the South will say, what's in this for us?
Okay.
We're doing all the good stuff. We're controlling our population. We're educating our people. We're empowering our women. And we are contributing to the economy through high taxes, whether it's industry in Tamil Nadu, whether it's IT in Bangalore, whether it's tourism in Kerala, whatever. You've got very, very major contributors to our GDP.
In fact, in terms of GST collections, there's already been a huge war.
Huge.
With the centre, that the southern states have had. But let me move on to this one huge controversy that has erupted bang in the middle of this election in the state of Karnataka. And I don't think it should be confined to just Karnataka. JDS MP Prajwal Revanna has been accused of sexually assaulting multiple women and filming those heinous acts. There are thousands of videos that are doing the rounds. The man is believed to have fled to Germany. And of course, we know the JDS and the BJP are in an alliance, and the kind of statements that have come out so far from the camp don't really seem to inspire much confidence, because the family seems to be distancing itself from him. There are others who are actually calling it a Congress conspiracy. But my question is, what is the stand of the Congress? We know your government has set up an SIT. But really, what is your stand on this?
Our stand is that justice must take its course. I mean, the Karnataka state government is a law-abiding government. They've put the police on the matter. Investigations, as you said, an SIT has been doing its work. I think eventually the prosecution will follow. But we want to do things by the book. It doesn't mean there is any political cover available to this young man if he's done anything wrong.
He is a sitting MP. My question is...
And what's more, he's a candidate of the NDA, not of us. We have no particular interest in protecting anyone.
Absolutely. Yeah. But my question is, it's not about whether the Congress is going to protect him. My question is, for it, for you, does it end with just setting up an SIT? Shouldn't this be a huge issue in this election?
We hope with a prosecution and a conviction if there is any wrong done. You see, at the moment, we're all guided by newspaper stories. Now, I don't know anything more than I've read in the newspapers, and I'm assuming nor do you. We have to see what the investigation comes up with in terms of concrete evidence that can be presented to a court. I think, one has to let justice play out. Our problem, frankly, in so many issues in our country has been the rush to judgment, particularly in and by the media. So I don't want to be complicit in that.
Okay.
All I'm saying is we have a responsible government that has no interest in protecting any wrongdoing, and that's conducting a proper investigation. Let justice take its course. Don't we have faith in the system? Shouldn't we have faith in the system?
Okay, let's see what happens to the man, because the allegations are outrageous. Okay, let's look at the big national picture. You referred to the Prime Minister's statements. I want to talk about that in great detail. As you know, there have been huge controversy over the Congress Party's manifesto. The Prime Minister first said the manifesto was reminiscent of the Muslim League manifesto. Subsequently, he told the voters during a rally in Rajasthan, the Congress wants to redistribute your wealth. If they come to power, they will take away your property and gold and give it to Muslims. They will even snatch your Mangalsutras. Dr. Manmohan Singh had clearly said minorities have the first claim on the country's resources. My question to you is very simple. Do you believe this will cause polarization and benefit the BJP to the detriment of the Congress?
No, I think most people have seen through the Prime Minister's game, and there is universal revulsion at this kind of language. And it's pretty apparent, because obviously whenever the Congress has been asked about this, we pointed out the word Muslim doesn't even occur in our manifesto.
You say
so
minorities.
You can't say that. No, but you can't say this is written by the Muslim League when there is no reference to Muslims at all. Secondly, there is no reference to redistribution in the manifesto. There is no reference to inheritance tax. Prime Minister is the last person qualified to talk about Mangalsutras. Frankly, I think we should not go there. I think this whole business is really an embarrassingly communal and a rather brazenly communal appeal to sort of Muslim haters to turn against the Congress. And I think most intelligent people have begun to see through this kind of language. As I said, I believe it's a sign of desperation. I think they've seen the writing on the wall. They can do the same calculations that we can do, that I've just done for you in this show. They realize that their number is up, and they're flailing about desperately to try and use any instrument.
You're saying the Prime Minister is sounding desperate by making what you describe as brazenly divisive and communal statements because he senses defeat?
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, no Prime Minister, who obviously should have some consciousness of the dignity of his office, would lower himself to this level unless he really felt despair and desperation And I think that's what's coming out in his conversation. I mean, it's shocking. I mean, I've seen Mr. Modi in his better moments where he comes across in a much more dignified and statesmanlike manner, as a Prime Minister should. We all want to respect the office of Prime Minister. But I've also seen him when he gets into this unpleasant campaign mode. We've seen this in the past, this Smashan and Kabristan business. We've seen it when it came to dog whistles about Shehzada. We've seen it most recently now about attacking Rahul Gandhi for discrediting Maharajas and not saying anything against Nawabs. Obviously, Rahul Gandhi meant that the royal families in general had not been entirely kind to the peasantries in their countries, but as a general proposition. There are obviously exceptions in our history. But the point is not that. The point is that Mr. Modi, when he descends to this level, is not just, reflecting the worst of the communal agenda of the ruling party, but he is also, I think, lowering the prestige of his office, and that's unfortunate. Okay. Our Prime Minister is Prime Minister of all Indians, including Muslims. He's a Prime Minister of the entire country. He's occupying an office that has been sanctified by some of the greatest sons and daughters of India, and he should be conscious of the weight of his office when he uses that pulpit to speak to the nation. That's why I was so disappointed in this last set of remarks.
He's also referred to Muslims as infiltrators. But I have another question for you. A couple of days after this initial controversy over the manifesto and whatever the Prime Minister said, I would say came the icing on the cake. Sam Pitroda saying the US has an inheritance tax. It's a great idea that India should discuss and consider. I know the party has said it's his personal view. It's not in our manifesto. It's not our party view. But honestly, Dr. Tharoor, do you not believe, you're a seasoned politician, do you not believe that the damage has already been done? Because Prime Minister Modi and BJP leaders are quoting Sam Pitroda in election rally after election rally. Whether you like to admit it or not, Sam Pitroda is widely perceived as an advisor to Rahul Gandhi. And there are many who would ask today, with friends like these, who needs enemies?
Look, I mean, I respect
the Congress is great at scoring self-goals. Here's another one.
Look, I respect Sam a great deal, but the fact is he's not a member of the Manifesto Committee. He doesn't even live in India. He's living in America and describing a reality he sees in that country. But wait, that's not finished. Rajeev Gandhi of the Congress abolished the inheritance tax. Okay?
And you know what the Prime Minister had to say about that? That he wanted his mother's inheritance.
That's an absolutely... His mother had passed away earlier. The inheritance tax abolition kicked in a good year after his mother's death, so he no way personally benefited from it. The law of the tax says from the 31st of March 1985, any debts occurring after that date. So Mrs. Gandhi had been assassinated in 84. That's really... I mean, the Prime Minister, if he said that, then he's embarrassingly wrong once again.
He did say that,
but coming back to Sam Pitroda, Sam, as I said, is a senior figure, but no advisor in the Congress can claim that every advice they give is taken by everybody, number one. This is not in the manifesto. I was a member of the Manifesto Committee, so I know whereof I speak. It's not there. Third, the Congress abolished the inheritance tax, has no intention of bringing it back. There was not even a discussion of this issue in the Manifesto Committee, and it's not in our manifesto. Whereas the BJP floated trial balloons throughout 2019's budget preparation, where Minister Jayant Sinha, Minister Arun Jaitley all implied that the inheritance tax would be a good idea, and then when they saw the political cost thereof, they dropped the idea. But it was floated publicly and on the record before the TV cameras only by the BJP, never by the Congress. So I ask you, on what basis can the Congress be blamed for giving currency to an idea which was the BJP's idea and in the context of Indian politics? Between 1985 and 39 years later today, the only party that has mentioned this issue is the BJP, and they've dropped it too. So why is this now an election issue in 2024? This is cynical politics now.
Because Sam Pitroda talked about it in 2024. And let me tell you what Congress sympathizers are saying. Forget about your critics and opponents. Congress sympathizers seem to think that Sam Pitroda of Jo Hua So Hua fame should definitely speak more discreetly, especially in the middle of an election.
Well, the problem is you media folks go and thrust cameras in people's faces, and they feel obliged to be courteous to you. But in this particular instance, I think the remark has been blown out of all proportion, taken totally out of context, and attributed to a party that has never said this. So, I mean, I really think, as an objective journalist, you do know that this is purely
but
BJP's.
See, as an objective journalist, I do not decide the outcome of this election. The public will, the voters will. Therefore, my question is the Congress even doing enough to clarify this controversy?
Of course
because we are hearing what the Prime Minister is saying in rally after
I've just
rally.
replied.
You have, but you think that message is going out to the voters?
Yeah, because, you know, frankly, what are the real issues in this country?
Because it creates fear. It creates fear
I
among
understand,
the people.
but
what happens to my property if the Congress comes to power tomorrow?
Okay, so the Congress can assure people we have no designs on their property, even if they have more than one, as the Prime Minister has also said. But the more important issue is, why would a young man who voted for Mr. Modi in 2014 expecting to get a job soon still vote for him when 10 years later he doesn't have a job? Why would a family which can actually afford less today at the market than they could afford 10 years ago still vote for the BJP government that has given them this price rise? Why, in a situation of high unemployment and high price rise, have we also saddled our population with a decrease in incomes? Studies show that 80% of the Indian population have witnessed a decline in their incomes over the last 10 years. And of course, much of this was self-inflicted. Demonetization, no one asked the PM to do this utterly foolish thing, but it cost so many livelihoods because so many SMEs had to shut down, which were part in the informal economy was the engine that kept India running and employed tons of people who no longer have jobs and could never get those jobs back. And by the time there was any prospect of reviving these things, COVID came, lockdown came, finished. So you're looking at a situation where Indians are really hurting. The Aam Aadmi is hurting. And for them...
My question is the Congress party's message going down to the voters at the grassroots level? I know Rahul Gandhi has been going on and on about unemployment. Is it resonating with the voters?
Judging by what we're hearing from the first couple of phases, yeah, I mean, I'm told very clearly that the old enthusiasm Mr. Modi's speeches used to evoke is simply absent this time. In fact, even where there is no hostility to the BJP, there is now indifference, including to Mr. Modi. And in some ways, that's worse. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And indifference is what the BJP is being greeted by in many, many parts of the Hindi belt. Okay. And I'm hearing this obviously from people on my side of the fence, but the truth is it's coming right across the board. And I've read a couple of pieces by people who are not congressmen, who are no fans of Mr. Modi either, but who've made the same observation. So I would say we're looking at a rather serious situation for the BJP. And all the calculations I gave you earlier are being reinforced with each passing phase.
We'll know on the 4th of June.
We'll know on the 4th of June.
But let's talk about the India alliance. Now, what's happening with this alliance? On dozens of seats, allies are fighting against each other. The Congress and the left have had a bitter fight in Kerala. You said that, they had the left and the BJP had a friendly match. AAP versus Congress in Punjab. Your Delhi chief has quit over the alliance with Aam Aadmi Party. Mamata Banerjee says the Congress and the BJP are on the same side in Bengal. She doesn't seem keen on a joint manifesto either. My question is, does it look like a robust alliance that can take on and defeat the BJP?
Look, it was always clear from the beginning that the India alliance was at the national level, but that in practice there would be differences from state to state. It was certainly very clear to us in Kerala because for 55 years the Congress-led UDF and the Communist-led LDF have been at loggerheads and alternating in power, in fact. And therefore for us, even the thought of common cause with the Communists was out of the question in Kerala. But right next door in Tamil Nadu, the CPM, the CPI, our ally, the Muslim League, ourselves and the DMK are all partners. And there was no issue at all, not even on seat sharing. So it depends on each state. That's why it's entirely possible to have an alliance in Delhi with AAP and not have one in Punjab. As far as Mamata Banerjee is concerned, it's a pity that it came to that, but we have no doubt, and she's also made it clear she has no doubt, that after the election, that they would certainly be part of an anti-BJP coalition to form an alternative government. So I'm not too worried. 2004 is the analogy I would remind you of, not just the fact that the UPA was stitched together after the election, but that even the common minimum program was drawn up after the election. They came together and they agreed on that. That can be done again. It's not a problem. I think let's look at the numbers on the 4th of June and I think we'll make it work.
So
got to go now, I'm afraid.
I have a few more questions for you.
No time for that.
We'll make it very, very quick.
We've already had
we'll
half an hour.
We'll make it very quick, Dr. Thiru. You know, again, question people ask is, what exactly does the India Alliance stand for? I know that Congress has been saying this is about saving the constitution and democracy. You've talked about pluralism, secularism. Is this resonating with the voters? Because going by opinion polls, Prime Minister Modi's popularity is still quite intact.
No, on the contrary, as I said, we think that whatever personal feelings Mr. Modi may have evoked, that these are dying down now as people confront the realities of their daily lives. But more important, we are concerned about undoing the damage done to our politics, to our democracy, to our political discourse, and to our constitution over the last 10 years. So the hollowing out of the autonomy of various institutions, the problems created by the BJP, by the weaponization of ED, CBI, IT, NIA, and all of these law enforcement agencies, literally the emasculation, if one can use that word, though it's a sexist word today, of many of the institutions that used to be upholding autonomy in our country, from the CAG to the Election Commission, to the Information Commission, even the judiciary. All of these things have to be reversed, and the Congress and the allies will do it. Secondly, we will restore federalism.
Why are so many leaders leaving the Congress and joining the BJP? I know you
many
face
leaders
fear of
leaving the BJP
agencies.
and joining the Congress. It's every election, there's currents going in all directions. In Haryana, in Bihar, in many places, Tamil Nadu, you've seen people,
Hordes
prominent
are leaving
BJP.
the Congress.
There are hordes leaving the BJP.
Could it be that they believe that the Congress actually has a bleak future with no clear path for revival and a leadership crisis?
Yeah, we're going to find out on the 4th of June what the Congress's picture looks like. But as of today, I can tell you, people leaving the Congress is no different from people leaving the BJP. It's happening in both directions.
Okay, final question, final question. You know, the feeling among the voters of Uttar Pradesh is that the Gandhi family has abandoned them, including the family pocket boroughs. And some believe the message that's going out is that the Congress has already conceded defeat. My question to you is a very pointed one. In your view, should Rahul Gandhi contest from Amethi and Priyanka Gandhi from Rae Bareilly?
Personally, I would applaud such a decision, but it's their decision to make and the parties to make.
Do you believe
those
they
two
should?
seats have still been left open for that decision.
Do you believe they should?
I think that if they do so, it'll be a very good signal. What's more, I believe they'll both win, which is the encouraging thing about this. I mean, I think everything I'm picking up is that the incumbent in Amethi is not popular, and that the Congress has a very good chance of taking the seat back. And Rae Bareilly has stood by Sonia Gandhi throughout, and I think her daughter will have the same sort of reception. So I do believe it would be very, very good for them to make that decision. But as of today, while you and I are speaking, they haven't made that decision, and I respect them enough to leave it.
What would your advice be? They should?
I don't think they're going to ask my advice on this one.
But I'm asking you, should they?
I think they should, yeah. It would be great if they did.
All right. On that note, thank you very much, Dr. Tharoor. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you. And I look forward to talking to you again after the 4th of June.
Okay,
you seem to be very optimistic. Let's see if the results bear out your optimism.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
They will. Thanks very much.